contribution on behalf of the Birmingham Care Workers campaign. Do we now have John Dunn? The Orgreave Truth and Justice campaign group.
Before I start, comrades, I can't speak with anything in my hand. I'm a bit old school, I'm angry, I wave my arms around, so, you know. Can I just give a brief advert before I actually start? June the 15th, we have our 35th annual commemoration of the Battle of Orgreave. It's in Orgreave itself, and you're all fraternally invited. We're hoping it's going to be a massive turnout, keep the impetus behind our campaign going, and also show solidarity. Comrades, we've been fighting for 35 years. Now that seems a long time. Now when I look back, I'm actually thinking before I set off today, what was I doing 35 years ago today? I'm lucky I can remember exactly what I was doing. It was the Saturday before Chesterfield May Day. Another must attend along with the Durham Miners Gala in my calendar. I was recovering at home, 16 John Street, Claycross, a Derbyshire miner. I was recovering from severe concussion. I had a wound in the back of my head that a copper had smashed in on a picket line at Cresswell Colliery on April the 9th, a long time before Orgreave. Not only did I have that wound, it had been stitched up because I'd been taken to hospital, semi-conscious, where the police persuaded a surgeon to stitch me up without anaesthetic. That hurts. And 2 years ago, I was in the House of Commons, just over 2 years ago, Halloween, that day when all the ghouls and all the ghosties are resurrected. When Amber Rudd resurrected the spirit of Thatcherism and stood up and said there will be no inquiry into Orgreave because we don't need one. Because the police have learnt the lessons. They've learnt the lessons all right. Go and turn up to a fracking protest and see what happens. It was a long time ago. 35 years. Yes. Where is there a time limit on justice? Also, nobody died. By sheer fortune, nobody died. You know, the clips of television, which, never forget, the wonderful state-owned, unbiased BBC played in reverse to make it look as if we had attacked coppers. 6,000 coppers who just happened to be gathering in a field in South Yorkshire on a sunny day, exercising the dogs, trotting around with the horses, getting ready for the Horse of the Year show. And we were brutally attacked, and the BBC said we had attacked first. So we want, ultimately, an apology, not just in Parliament, but from the BBC. But going back to all that time, and I know today you've had some bad news that Arthur's too incapacitated to be here, and that's a tragedy. The greatest trade union leader this country has ever seen. But there's also some good news around that. I'm a big believer that in these deep, dark times, we need good news. So, comrades, Arthur Scargill might not be here, but he's still alive and well. The Orgreave Truth and Justice campaign is still here. You're still here, but Margaret Thatcher's dead. And we should always celebrate that. And we should pat ourselves on the back that we're still here. Because you weren't supposed to be. The trade union movement, when she defeated the NUM, my union, was supposed to die, was supposed to vanish into oblivion. It's been hard. We know what we were, but we are still here and we're still fighting, and we have to celebrate that. No longer are we on our knees with our chins on our chests. We're loud and proud and fighting back. And I pay tribute to those brave young workers in McDonald's, taking on one of the world's biggest multinationals, to the people who are starting to get organised. And I also pay tribute to people like yourselves who've kept the flame of the labour movement alive through 30-odd dark years. Now, 35 years ago, I say, but the comrade from the Midlands TUC spelled it out. We've gone back more than 35 years. We've gone back centuries. We've got poverty that we were supposed to never see. We've got homelessness. We've got the scandal of 0 hours contracts, a modern day version of when dockers, building workers or mine workers would line up against a wall for some gaffer to say, I'll have you today, and you, the rest can go home. Only it's done a little bit different. You sit at home on your mobile phone waiting to see if someone is going to offer you a couple of hours work. And this Tory rotten government says, we've never had it so good. They've created more jobs than ever. As has been said, we live in one of the world's best economies. But it's marked by the number of billionaires. We no longer talk about millionaires. We talk about billionaires. It's marked by how many of them we've got, not how many of our comrades sleep rough in the street, not how many of our comrades are dossing on someone's settee because they can't afford a home. And again, the parallels with the past, the poverty that stalks this country is nothing short of a disgrace. On Monday, I did a meeting with my comrades from the Nottinghamshire NUM, the strikers, the bravest, best trade unionists the world has ever seen, who withstood insuperable odds to keep trade unionism and the NUM alive in their coalfield. They're now carrying their activity into manning food banks, into raising funds for the homeless, into collecting clothes for school kids. They have a storeroom where they collect second-hand school uniforms for kids who can't afford to buy, for parents who can't afford to buy. And one harrowing story stuck with me. One child, 5 years old, his school, like many others, is no longer run by an education authority. It has a strict dress code. He was told he couldn't go to school in trainers. So he had to go to school in his father's shoes. Size 9. A 5-year-old child, I kid you not. And what was the response of this privatised school? Very generously, they found him a pair of shoes. But he's not allowed to take them home. So he goes in his father's shoes, comes home in his father's shoes. What a scandal. And when Arthur said, we are fighting for future generations, that brings it home. And why did we end up in this mess? We all know that Thatcher was to blame. But also let's look back with anger at those in our ranks who betrayed us. You said it, wash your mouth out, Neil Kinnock. And if anybody wants a lesson in hereditary, hasn't he passed the genes on to his son? Neil Kinnock, who refused to back us. Neil Kinnock, who sold us out every step of the way. And who is still selling us out. Because unfortunately, we still have scabs. They called the Parliamentary Labour Party. For a brief moment, it looked like we might be on the verge of changing things. Now, I don't think that Jeremy Corbyn is a messiah. But at least, as a leader of the Labour Party, we'd elected someone with a bit of socialist in his veins, with a conscience, a man who fought injustice. And what was he greeted with? 172 members of his own parliamentary party walking out on him. Betrayals day after day. Having to seek re-election. And elected with an increasing majority. But did that stop the likes of Tom Watson, who incidentally has never put his credentials as deputy leader back on the line, has he? But these people use every opportunity to undermine. And what they're actually doing, it might be a parliamentary game for them. But look what's at stake. The WASPy comrades. We've all been forced to work almost until we die because we have a society that says you can't look after your elderly. Primitive Aborigines did that. What sort of society is that? What sort of society says it's your fault we are not paying your pension because you're living too long? Encapsulate that. It means die. We don't want you. And never forget, who flagged that up first? Mr. Yvette Cooper, Ed Balls. New Labour, and I'm a member of the Labour Party. 48 years apart from a brief spell when they threw me out for chasing Owen Smith out of Orgreave. But we have to make sure that those people never darken the Labour movement's door again. We have to make sure that our fight continues. And comrades, my organisation is campaigning for an inquiry. But I think, as socialists, as members of the Labour movement, we should never be satisfied just with inquiries, just with apologies. We had 2 pickets murdered on the picket line. We had 1,100 of us arrested, 7,000 seriously injured. I don't just want an inquiry. I don't want somebody to stand up in Parliament and give me an apology. I don't want that. I want revenge. I don't mean bloody revenge. That'd be a bonus if we get it. But what I mean is the ultimate revenge. The abolition of this rotten system that makes you wait till you die. That sends armoured police to attack pickets in T-shirts. That criminalises normal trade union behaviour. Comrades, the ultimate revenge is when we abolish this rotten system and go forward to socialism. Solidarity.
Well, thanking John Dunn for the